What if the thing stopping you from wealth isn't laziness, it isn't bad luck, and it isn't the economy? What if it's a fear so deep inside you that you don't even know it's there? A fear that disguises itself as logic, as responsibility, as being realistic. Today we are going to pull it out from the shadows and name it. Because the moment you see it clearly, it loses its power over you forever. Here's something most people never stop to question. Why do highly intelligent people with talent, with drive, with every reason to succeed stay stuck? Not because they lack knowledge, not because they haven't read the books or watched the videos, but because somewhere in the architecture of their mind, there is a hidden instruction running silently in the background. And that instruction says, don't go too far. Psychologists call this a subconscious fear of success. But I want you to understand what that actually means in real life, because it doesn't look the way you think it does. It doesn't show up as a voice saying, I'm scared to be rich. It shows up as procrastination the night before a big opportunity. It shows up as self-sabotage, right when things start going well. It shows up as the sudden urge to shrink yourself in a room full of people who are doing better than you. Think about a person, let's call him Daniel, mid-30s, smart, works hard. Every year he gets close to a financial breakthrough, a new business idea, a promotion, a serious investment opportunity. And every year something happens. He pulls back, overthinks it, finds a reason why this isn't the right time. Daniel isn't lazy. Daniel is afraid, not of failure. He's already survived failure before. What Daniel is actually afraid of is what comes after success. Because success brings change. And change, even good change, triggers the primal part of the brain that says this is unknown territory, danger. Your subconscious mind was built for survival, not ambition. And when you start moving towards something unfamiliar, even something beautiful, your internal system activates a soft but powerful resistance. That resistance doesn't feel like fear. It feels like doubt. It feels like logic. It whispers, maybe later. Maybe it's not for me, maybe I should wait. And people listen to it. Every single day. Now here's where it gets deeper and more personal. Most of us didn't create this fear on our own. We inherited it. Think back to the environment you grew up in. What did the adults around you say about money, about wealthy people, about ambition? For many people, especially in working class or middle class households, the messages about money were subtle but constant. Rich people are selfish. Money changes people. Don't get too big for your boots. Be grateful for what you have. Now, none of those statements were meant to harm you. They came from people who loved you, people who were themselves afraid, people who had been hurt by financial risk or who had watched others lose everything. But your young mind recorded those statements as truth. And now, as an adult, every time you move toward wealth, toward more, some buried part of you activates that old recording, and you feel guilt or shame or a strange sense of disloyalty, as if becoming wealthy would mean leaving your roots behind, as if success would make you someone different, someone less. This is the story, the inherited story. And here's what makes it so dangerous. It's invisible. You can't see it the way you can see a bad habit or a toxic relationship. It lives beneath your logic. It colors your decisions before your conscious mind even gets involved. A woman named Claire grew up watching her father work 2 jobs and still struggle to pay rent every month. She absorbed a deeply embedded belief that money was scarce, that trying for more was dangerous, and that people who had too much were somehow suspect. 20 years later, Claire is running a small consulting business. She's good at what she does. Her clients love her, but she chronically undercharges. She feels uncomfortable asking for what she's worth. She gives away free work that she should be paid for. She thinks it's a pricing problem. It's not. It's the story she inherited playing out in real time, telling her she doesn't deserve more than what her father had, that asking for more is greedy, that staying small is safe. Until she recognized that story, until she named it, she couldn't change it. The recognition is everything. Let me tell you about someone whose story changed the way I think about subconscious fear. Howard Schultz grew up in a housing project in Brooklyn, New York. His family had almost nothing. He watched his father, a man who worked hard, who never complained, get injured at work and receive zero protection from his employer. No health insurance, no compensation, just silence and financial ruin. That experience carved something into Howard. A deep, aching awareness of what it meant to be powerless, to be unseen, to have nothing to fall back on. Now, here's the critical moment in his story. When Howard Schultz first encountered the idea that would become Starbucks, a small, elegant coffee culture he witnessed while traveling in Italy, he could have let his subconscious story stop him. He could have said, people from where I come from don't build empires. That's not my world. And many people in his position did exactly that. Not because they weren't capable, but because the subconscious mind is powerful, and the story of I'm not that person is one of the most quietly destructive narratives a human being can carry. But Howard did something unusual. He chose to rewrite his identity before the evidence existed. He decided to see himself as someone capable of building something world-changing. Not because he had proof, Not because anyone told him he could, but because he made a conscious, deliberate decision to override the old story. He didn't pretend the fear wasn't there. He acknowledged it. And then he acted anyway. And this is the psychology of real wealth, not the wealth of numbers in a bank account, but the foundational wealth of self-concept. Because your bank account will almost never exceed your self-concept for long. If deep down you believe you are a person who struggles, you will find a way to return to struggle even when opportunity presents itself. If deep down you believe you are a person who builds, who creates, who deserves, you will find a way to rise even through difficulty. The external world is largely a reflection of the internal world. Howard Schultz didn't just build Starbucks, he built himself first. Here's the truth that most motivational content is too afraid to say out loud. You are not stuck because of the market. You are not stuck because of your background. You are not stuck because of timing. You are stuck because somewhere inside you, beneath your goals, beneath your ambitions, beneath every vision board and journal entry, there's a part of you that does not fully believe you belong in the life you say you want. That's the subconscious fear. And it is brutally efficient at keeping you exactly where you are. It doesn't need to scream at you. It doesn't need drama. It just needs to create just enough hesitation, just enough doubt, just enough comfort in the familiar. And the most painful version of this truth, some people will spend their entire lives working hard, staying busy, feeling productive, and never actually move forward. Not because they lack effort, but because all of that effort is secretly designed, subconsciously designed, to look like progress without ever requiring the terrifying leap into becoming someone new. Busyness is the most socially acceptable form of avoidance. Because if you are always busy, you never have to sit still long enough to confront what's really going on inside you. The shift happens when you stop asking, what strategy should I use? And start asking, who am I when no one is watching? What do I believe I deserve when the world isn't looking? That is where the real work begins. So, where does this leave you? With a choice. The same choice Howard Schultz made in an unfamiliar city, staring at a way of life that felt impossibly distant from where he came from. The same choice Claire had to make when she finally recognized her undercharging wasn't a pricing problem, it was a self-worth problem. The same choice Daniel eventually made when he stopped calling his fear logic and started calling it what it was. You don't need a new strategy today. You need a new story. A story that says, I am allowed to want more. A story that says, ambition is not betrayal. A story that says, the fear I feel is not a stop sign. It is proof that I am standing at the edge of growth. The subconscious mind learns through repetition, through experience, through small, consistent choices made in the direction of the person you are deciding to become. So start small, but start true. The next time you feel that quiet pull to shrink, to wait, to stay safe, notice it, name it, and then ask yourself one question. Is this logic or is this fear in disguise? Because when you can tell the difference between those two things, you stop being managed by your past and you start building your future with intention. Wealth is built twice, first in the mind, then in the world. The second one is only possible when you have done the work on the first. Now you know where to begin.